Adrian and I were at City Hall to sign the marriage certificate, and he slid a post-nuptial contract across the table without a flicker of expression. I was about to put pen to paper when a line of glittering gold text blinked above his head. "Aw, babe's signing. She's finally Avery mine. I wanna kiss her right now." My fingers froze around the pen. Wait, wasn't this supposed to be a paper-only corporate marriage, each taking what we need? Who is this guy whose inner monologues are practically fireworks? The Scarlet City Hall backdrop burned my eyes. I, Scarlet, was getting married today. The groom was Manhattan's crown prince, the ruler of Sterling, Adrian, a man at the apex of the pyramid, rumored to be allergic to women. Me? I was the bankrupt Hayes heiress who needed a fortune to save everything my father had spent his life building. This was a transaction in broad daylight. He needed a wife to get his family off his back and kill the ridiculous rumors about his orientation. I needed his money. Each takes what we need, a fair trade. Dylan, this is the post-nuptial. Have a look. Adrian's voice was as icy as he was. He sat opposite me and bespoke, spine ruler straight, radiating a do-not-approach chill. I took the contract. Every clause was crystal: we stay out of each other's private lives, marriage lasts 1 year, divorce after that, and the Hayes Company gets sterling capital. Totally reasonable. I lifted the pen and aimed for the signature line. The instant the tip almost touched paper, a mutation erupted. The Adrian in front of me, colder than a polar glacier, suddenly had a sparkling, emoji-studded thought bubble above his head. Aw, babe's signing. She's finally Avery mine. I wanna kiss her right now. Me? ? I blinked, convinced stress had fried my retinas. I looked again. Adrian's face was still a motionless mask, eyes a still pond. But the bubble had refreshed. Why isn't she signing? Did she hate something? Was I too stern? No, Adrian, keep your frost god persona. Can't spook babe. The pen in my hand trembled slightly. What is happening? To test my hypothesis, I deliberately knitted my brow and tapped a clause. Rowan, this line, no physical contact of any kind during the marriage, isn't that a bit absolute? Adrian's handsome face stayed flat. He merely lifted a brow with a cool like he was waiting for wisdom from me. But above him the bubble detonated like New Year firecrackers. Babe wants physical contact? She must like me back. I knew it, nobody can resist this face. Chill, Adrian, you narcissist. Maybe she only needs credibility in front of elders. So how do I answer? If I say sure, will I look too easy? Watching that carnival hover over his iceberg face, I almost laughed out loud. So Manhattan's mythical frost god is actually a lovesick, self-adoring sap? Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I swallowed the giggle, cleared my throat, and pressed on. For instance, in front of family, a necessary hug or handhold might be required, or it'll look fake. Adrian was silent 2 beats, waging war inside. His thought bubble turbo-scrolled. Yesiases. Babe's so thoughtful. Hugs. Handholds. I'm in. Aw, I might hold babe's hand soon. It looks soft and tiny, must feel amazing. No, stay aloof. At last his thin lips parted, sure. Still Arctic, zero ripple. If I hadn't seen the nice V above him, I'd have bought it. I signed rapidly and shoved the papers back. Pleasure doing business, Rowan. Pleasure doing business, Jordan. When he said Jordan, his earlobes reddened at broadband speed while he pretended nothing happened. His bubble sold him out. Jordan. I called her Jordan. Sounds divine, must repeat. Babe, babe, my babe. I dropped my gaze, shoulders shaking. Can't, mustn't laugh. After the wedding photo and 2 red-covered marriage certificates, we exited City Hall. Wind whipped the street, flaring my skirt. Adrian stood beside me, hands in trouser pockets, posture parade ground straight, eyes forward, perfect gentleman. But his bubble was already staging an epic. Red-covered certificates secured. We're legal. She's my wife in the eyes of the law. Hands shaking, so hyped, wanna hug her. No, the contract just got inked, can't scare her. But I really wanna. I glanced at the knuckles whitening in his pockets, then back at the tangled monologue above his head, and a bold idea sparked. If you won't, I will. I inhaled, grabbed his tie, and yanked him toward me before he could react. Adrian's tall frame pitched forward in shock, his unfairly gorgeous face zooming into focus. His thought bubble short-circuited into static. Babe shashash. Against the city hall wall, under passerby stares, I rose on tiptoe and crashed my lips onto his cool ones. Adrian went rigid, eyes wide, pupils packed with my reflection. After a brief system crash, his bubble rebooted and went berserk. Ah! She kissed me. She made the move. She must like me. No doubt. Stay cool, Adrian, frost god persona. She can't know you're about to explode. I'm hard. No, I'm hers. What do I do? Do I kiss back? Should I circle her waist? Witnessing his mental universe collapse, I smiled wider against his lips. The kiss tasted sweeter than expected. I let him go, licked my lips, and blinked up at him. Stamped, Rowan. From now on, you're mine. Adrian's flush spread from ears to throat. He opened his mouth, no words, only the silent screaming bubble overhead. She said I'm hers. Dead, revived, dead again. Babe's lethal and I'm here for it. Looking at his utterly smitten face, I felt fantastic. This next year of married life? Far from boring. Adrian's house, our future house, sat at the summit of the city's most exclusive neighborhood, a standalone mansion at the very top of the hill. The car glided through the gates, and the housekeeper and staff were already lined up to greet us. Welcome home, Mr. Sterling. Welcome home, Mrs. Sterling. Adrian was as frosty as ever, offering only a slight nod before striding inside on those long legs of his. I followed, amusement bubbling as I watched the floating thought bubble above his head. They called her Mrs. Sterling, sounds so good. Babe's first time here, what if she hates the decor? I should have asked her taste beforehand. Will she like the fiber optic starlight ceiling I personally supervised in her room? I stepped into the master suite and, sure enough, found the ceiling he'd mentioned, a deep blue vault dusted with tiny pinpoints of light, dreamy and romantic. An involuntary wow slipped from my lips. Adrian lingered at the doorway, pretending to scroll on his phone while stealing glances from the corner of his eye. She likes it. She really likes it. Knew it. My taste is impeccable. I want to tell her I had it installed just for her. No, stay cool, can't ruin the persona. I turned, gifting him a sweet smile. I love it, thank you, husband. I made the word husband extra soft and sticky. His grip on the phone spasmed, a long scratch zipping across the screen. The floating bubble above his head dissolved into a trail of ellipsis dots. She called me husband. My heart's about to explode. Why did she use that voice? I'm done for. And no problem, he stammered, gaze darting everywhere but me. The housekeeper will unpack. Rest first, I've got work in the study. He practically fled. Watching his retreat, I collapsed on the bed laughing. This man is ridiculously cute. At dinner I came downstairs to find Adrian in an apron, busy in the open kitchen. Golden sunset spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, gilding him in warm light. Tall and broad-shouldered, his simple white shirt stretched perfect across his frame, sleeves rolled to the elbows, forearms muscular and taut. A mouth-watering sight. Babe's coming downstairs, will she be moved I'm cooking? This steak has to be flawless, impress Babe. Don't choke, Adrian, channel the boardroom energy. Leaning against the doorframe, I bit back a grin. He inhaled sharply and laid a prime Wagyu steak in the pan with a careful sizzle. So far, so good. Then, chopping garnish, he got too eager, the blade nicked his fingertip, a ruby bee blooming. TCH. He hissed. Crap. Fail. Bleeding in front of Babe, mortifying. What if she thinks I'm hopeless? Tiny cut, can't let Babe see, protect the mighty image. He tried to hide his hand behind his back, but I darted over and caught it. Cut yourself? I frowned, worried. His hands were beautiful, long, sculpted fingers, and the small slit on his pale index finger stood out starkly. It's nothing, he mumbled, tugging, but I held firm. Babe's touching my hand. Her hands are so soft. She's worried, yes. Reading the pink hearts pop over his head, I felt mischief rise. Before he could react, I bent and slipped his wounded finger into my mouth. Warmth encased his skin, the faint metallic taste bloomed on my tongue. Adrian went statue still. The thought bubble froze blank. 10 seconds later the blank erupted into scrolling screams. SSSS, she ate my finger. No, licked it. Ah. Numb, whole left side numb. I am gone. I lifted my gaze to his shocked eyes, deliberately tongued my lower lip, and purred, looks, not too serious. Snap. I could almost hear some internal fuse blow. Scarlet rushed from his hairline to his collar. He yanked his hand away, spun around, voice quivering, band-aids in the cabinet. Steam practically rose from the back of his head. I doubled over laughing, teasing this pure-hearted tycoon is life's new favorite sport. That night the steak ended up charred beyond recognition. To keep up our madly in love act, and save my family's tottering company, I started showing up at Sterling headquarters daily, bearing heart-shaped bento lunches for my dear husband. Naturally, Adrian objected. The cafeteria has everything, don't trouble yourself, he muttered without looking up from his documents, cool as ever. Meanwhile the thought bubble partied. Babe's bringing me lunch, daily eye candy secured. I'll make the whole building know she's my babe. Stay low-key, contract marriage, can't stress her. But I wanna brag so bad. Every noon I marched through ogling employees, tote of soup in hand, straight to the corner office. Adrian would drone, "Don't come again," then the second I turned, whip out his phone and snap 360 glamour shots of the food, dumping them into a one-member WhatsApp group titled, Babe Bento Log. Today, lunchbox in tow, I paused outside his door, an unwelcome voice drifted out. Adrian, I stewed this broth myself. You've been working so hard, you need nutrients. A girl in a white sundress, dewy-eyed and dainty, stood before his desk clutching a thermos, none other than the self-declared childhood fiancé, Emery. Adrian's brows clamped tight, annoyance thick. Why is she here again? Exhausting. Told her no, does she speak human? Babe will be here any minute, cannot let her misunderstand. I breezed in, smile flawless. Husband, lunch delivery. And you are. Emery's face twitched, then rebounded. You are. His wife, Scarlett. I parked the thermal pot on his blotter, straightened his tie with possessive ease. Adrian's frame snapped taut, the floating bubble went fireworks. Babe just marked territory, epic. She said husband in front of another woman, I'm levitating. Stay stoic, Adrian, stay stoic. Emery's smile cracked. Adrian, you're married? He answered flatly, tasted my soup, and commented, excellent today. Babe's soup equals nectar of the gods. Why is this Lynn girl still breathing my air? Buzz off, third wheel. Tears shimmered in Emery's eyes. Adrian, remember our childhood vow? You promised you'd marry me. I barely swallowed a laugh. Wow, seriously? What century is this, still pulling the childhood sweetheart card? Adrian's face turned even icier. What garbage promise? Who takes anything a 3-year-old says as binding? I also said I'd be an astronaut that year. Is Babe mad? How do I explain? Help! Online, urgent. Alex, Adrian finally said, voice sub-zero, kids say dumb things, none of it counts. I'm married. Don't come to the office again, my wife wouldn't like it. Nice one, Adrian. Go decisive. Babe, did you hear that? My heart's all yours. Emery froze solid, she clearly hadn't expected him to be that ruthless. I looked at her sheet-white face and felt fantastic. The second she ran out crying, I drawled, husband, you're popular with the peach blossoms today. I barely know her, Adrian rushed to declare, almost frantic. Is Babe jealous? Does she care about me? So happy, but now I have to soothe Babe. Ugh, conflicted. I kept my face stern while I watched the happy nervous thought bubbles over his head. Really? Then how come she still remembers some childhood promise? He was tongue-tied, his handsome face flushing red as he paced the office like a caged leopard. What do I do? What do I do? How do I explain? I swear I forgot. Who remembers anything from age 3? Should I kneel? Is there still time to break out the washboard? I couldn't hold it in anymore, I burst out laughing. I walked up behind him, wound my arms around his waist, and pressed my cheek to his broad back. Okay, I was teasing. I believe you. Adrian's body went rigid, then slowly relaxed. The thought bubble over his head changed from total panic to a sky full of pink hearts. Babe hugged me. She smells so good, so soft. I don't want to work. I want to take Babe home. Morgan said he was dragging me to the gym. I'd planned to refuse, a sloth like me loathes exercise. But when I read the banner streaming above his head, I changed my mind. Babe's figure is already killer, if she puts on Lululemon. Poof, can't think, nosebleed risk. Must trick Babe into the gym. Avery, I slipped into skin-tight yoga gear and followed him to his private club. Ellis was dripping sweat on the treadmill, his t-shirt plastered to 8 perfect squares of muscle and that sharp V-line. I pretended to stretch nearby, but my peripheral vision never left him. Babe's watching. She's definitely mesmerized by my body. Faster, look cooler. Ugh, why is there fabric? I wanna rip it off. I moved to the squat rack beside him and started lowering myself. His gaze snapped over, breathing instantly heavier. That curve. I'm dying. Adrian, be a gentleman, no staring. Just one more peek, one. I faked a wobble and pitched forward. Adrian lunged, steadying me with a scalding palm against my waist. Careful, he rasped. So soft, so tiny. My hand is shaking, what do I do? Want to touch, want to squeeze, no, I'll scare her. Once stable, I flashed him a sweet smile. Cameron. Then I sauntered to the bench press, lay back, and batted my lashes. Husband, spot me? I'm scared I can't lift it. His Adam's apple bobbed as he forced himself over. He stood behind me, bent low, arms sliding under mine to grip the bar, encaging me. I could smell sweat fused with his cologne, feel hot breath on my ear. So close. Her hair smells like citrus. She's so petite, practically tucked inside my arms. Heart's racing, gonna explode. Bar's heavy, wait, why heavy? I can single-hand this thing. I pushed, then let the weight drop like I'd failed. The full load landed in his arms. Ah, husband, it's heavy. I can't. I whimpered. Veins popped along his forearms as he re-racked it effortlessly. Babe just acted cutesy to me. Her panting is adorable. There he goes again, how many today? I sat up, looped my arms around his neck before he could straighten, and climbed him like a koala, legs locking around his carved waist. You looked so hot just now, I whispered against his throat. Adrian went statue still, his thought bubbles turned to garbled code. Help! She's wrapped around me, her legs, soft, springy. I'm done for. In the deserted corner of the gym, I studied his flushed, restraining everything face, then pressed a satisfied kiss to the hollow of his throat. Turns out exercise feels pretty good. Emery's stunt didn't dent our sweet newlywed life, it turbocharged it. To prove loyalty, Adrian stuck to me 24/7. Outwardly frosty, but the thought bubbles above him dripped syrup all day. Babe's dress today, gorgeous. Must buy her 100. Babe eats like a hamster, so cute. Babe's asleep, sneak a kiss, she'll never know. Living with live closed captions felt like starring in my own rom-com where only I had the script. One morning Sterling hosted a key investor notorious for groping anything in a skirt. Adrian worried himself sick, ordered me to stay away. That Wong perv sees women like X-ray specs, nobody gets to look at my babe. Hide babe, lock her up, no peeking. I went anyway, red body skimming dress, smoky eyes, killer heels. When I stepped into the conference room every head swiveled. Old Mr. Davis's eyeballs practically hit the table. Adrian's face blackened, he strode over, yanked off his bespoke jacket, and buried me in it. Why is she here? And wearing that? She'll murder every man alive. Gorgeous, but only I'm allowed to see. I'll gouge Wang's eyeballs out, give them back when he's blind. He moved me behind him, blocking Wang's view, voice a low growl, what are you doing here? Inspection tour, I whispered on tiptoe. Can't let the wild foxes snatch you. Ellis Adrian's ears burned scarlet, shoulders rigid. Babe's jealous. She loves me. Happy dance later, first, bury this dirty wolf. The rest of the negotiation happened under polar pressure. Adrian steamrolled the poor man and signed a contract so one-sided it should have been illegal. The moment Mr. Davis left, only the two of us remained in the conference room. Adrian spun around, caged me against the table, palms slamming down on either side of my body until I was trapped between his chest and the edge. Scarlett, do you have any idea how dangerous that was? A sliver of lingering fear and banked fury ran through his voice. Scared me to death, thank God I moved fast. She has zero survival instincts. Need to teach her a lesson, make it stick. But I can't bear to yell at her. I stared at his gorgeous face inches from mine, watched the tangled thought bubbles over his head, and laughed instead of flinching. I hooked my arms around his neck and tugged him closer. Husband, were you worried about me? Damn right, he roared without thinking, then realized he'd snapped and shattered his Ice King persona. Regret flooded his thought bubble. Crap, I shouted at her. I'm dead. Babe's definitely mad. Adrian, you idiot. How could you raise your voice at Babe? Looking at his embarrassed, apology-stuck expression, I melted. This man, how could he be so cute? Okay, I'm sorry, I surrendered first, rubbing my cheek against his. I won't do it again. Adrian's body locked, then the rigid muscles slowly loosened. She's acting sweet to me. Anger gone, can't stay mad. I want to kiss her so badly. While he hesitated, I took the lead and kissed him. The kiss was soft, lingering, meant to soothe. Ellis froze for 2 beats, then seized control, cupping the back of my head and deepening it. Beyond the blinds, the entire staff stood outside. Under their watchful eyes, we kissed as if we'd never stop. That evening we left work together. Inside the private elevator, Adrian was still brooding over the afternoon. I should lock her at home, the outside world is too dangerous. No, that's false imprisonment. 10 bodyguards, then? 20? While he argued with himself, the car jolted, lights blinked out, and darkness swallowed us. Ah! I yelped instinctively. A warm, strong pair of arms yanked me against a solid chest. Don't be scared, I'm here, Adrian whispered, a tremor threading his voice. I couldn't see his thought bubble, but his heart hammered against my ear, his body shivering with tension. He wasn't afraid of the dark, he was afraid for me. Warmth flooded my chest. I wrapped my arms around him and buried my face against his shirt. I'm not afraid. Minutes later, the emergency bulb flicked on, bathing us in yellow light. When I lifted my head, worry lined Ellis's face. Seeing I was fine, he exhaled and started to let go, until I shoved him back against the mirrored wall. Smack, his shoulders hit steel. Adrian went blank. Babe. Babe elevator push-kissed me? Copying his earlier move, I braced my hands on either side of him and trapped him. I rose on my toes and crashed my lips over his parted ones, hard, possessive. I felt him stiffen, then gradually relax and clumsily answer. Just as the world spun, the elevator chimed, lights blazing, doors gliding open. Outside stood a row of stunned executives. We stayed locked in our reversed push-kiss. After a beat of silence, Adrian's thought bubble scrolled a single defiant banner. What are you staring at? Never seen a CEO and his wife make out. After the elevator incident, our relationship became an open secret inside Sterling. Colleagues now looked at me not as the CEO's mystery girl but as the real Mrs. Sterling who has the boss wrapped around her finger. Adrian seemed to give up on his crumbling aloof facade, though he still spoke little. His gaze could wring water from stone. His thought bubble shifted from tangled self-war to pure babe snuggle, babe so cute, loving babe more today. With Sterling's help, the Hayes company stabilized and climbed back on track. Everything was moving in the right direction, except for Emery. She clearly wasn't ready to bow out. Sterling's big live-streamed product launch arrived. As CEO, Ellis had to present. From my front row seat I watched the man in the bespoke suit command the stage, radiating power. My heart swelled with pride. Babe's watching, so nervous. Practice the speech 300 times, should be fine. Ty's the one Babe picked, looks great. Babe staring, must be mesmerized by my brilliance and looks. Reading his cocky thought bubble, I curved my lips. The event ran smoothly until the press Q&A, when one reporter aimed at me. Taylor, who is the beautiful lady beside you? Rumor says you're secretly married, true? Before Ellis answered, Emery rose from a corner seat, mic in hand, perfectly coiffed. Hello, I'm Emery. I'm best qualified to answer about Adrian's love life. Her voice carried through the hall and across the live feed. Adrian and I were promised to each other since childhood. Someone else merely used shady tricks to cloud his judgment temporarily. She shot me a pointed glance. Gasps rippled, online comments exploded. Holy, rich family catfight? First wife tears into mistress? Who's this Emery? Drama queen. So Scarlett's the homewrecker? I stayed expressionless, laughing coldly inside. Emery intended to torch Sterling's launch and my reputation in one bonfire. Ellis's face iced over. Crazy woman, how dare she? Security, drag her out. Babe's hurt, my heart aches. Must protect her. As guards stepped forward, Ellis raised a hand to stop them. He lifted the microphone, swept his gaze across the room, then rested it on me, his frigid stare melting into tenderness. First, correction. His calm, powerful tone traveled through every speaker. She isn't someone else. She is my wife, Scarlett, lawfully wedded, fully documented. He paused, then continued, second, besides our parents' acquaintance, Alex and I share nothing. An engagement? Fiction. The only person I have ever loved, ever wanted to marry, is standing right there. With those words he stepped off the stage and walked straight toward me. Every camera in the room was aimed straight at us. Above Adrian's head the floating thought bubble shrank to just 4 words, scrolling on repeat. I love Scarlett. I love Scarlett. I love Scarlett. He stepped in front of me, dropped to one knee before millions of live stream viewers, and pulled a velvet box from his pocket. The lid flipped open to reveal a diamond that blazed like a fallen star. Scarlett, I know how we began, strictly business. But what I feel for you has never been pretend. I've loved you for the longest time. I kept quiet because I was terrified I'd scare you off. All I could do was use this clumsy contract to keep you close. Now I want to ask, will you turn that deal into a promise that lasts forever? Will you, truly, marry me? My tears spilled before I could stop them. I'd had no idea he carried all this inside his chest. I'd swaggered around thinking I was the one teasing him, steering us. Turns out he'd already drawn the cage and was simply waiting for me to stroll in of my own accord. I glanced up at the frantic new barrage above his head. Will she say yes? Will she? She's crying. Did I rush this? Please, please say yes, babe. I laughed through the tears, stretched out my hand, and nodded hard enough to ache. I do. Adrian Ellis, the man who never loses composure, slid the ring on with shaking fingers, sprang to his feet, and kissed me so deeply the live feed cut to commercial 3 seconds late. On every screen the comments detonated. OTP just became canon. What kind of fairy tale crack is this? Taylor with the hard eyes. Scarlett living the dream. Emery's face turned Kermit green. I'm deceased. If they don't consummate on stage, I'm rating this stream 1 star. Sterling's product launch had just become our engagement press conference. And I, Scarlett, the once broke heiress, became the woman the entire internet envied. After the broadcast, our love story trended as the year's sweetest billionaire romance. Emery became a meme, the Lynn family stock nosedived, and my father's company, propped up by Sterling Capital, rose from the ashes bigger than ever. All was settled. Adrian and I moved into the kind of marriage people write hashtags about: breakfast in bed, surprise helicopters, a husband who greets me like an overgrown retriever. He still talks in terse sentences, but the thought bubbles over his head, and the way his eyes track me say the rest. Yet one cloud refused to disperse: our 12-month post-nuptial contract. With every sunrise the expiration date crept closer. I noticed Adrian sighing at windows, staring at walls. The pastel hearts above him dissolved into anxious static. Only 10 days left. 5. 3. When the contract dies, will she leave? We're crazy in love, sure, but the paper is real. How do I beg her to stay, kneel and duct tape myself to her ankle? Too pathetic. New contract? Lifelong version? Would she sign? He trailed me through the penthouse like a panicked ghost, mouth opening and closing on words he couldn't risk. The sight was equal parts hilarious and heart-splitting. The fool. On expiration morning I woke before him. Adrian had spent the night wide-eyed, bruise-colored shadows smudged his cheekbones. All day he treated me like blown glass, his gaze a silent please don't go. Final day. If she files, I'll ugly cry. No, men don't cry, idiotic rule. Then what? After dinner I led him to the study. He followed like a man climbing the gallows. From the locked drawer I drew the post-nuptial contract. The instant he saw the folder his complexion went chalk white, knees wobbling. Here it is. She's ending us. My heart is cracking open. Scarlett, he croaked, but I couldn't bear another second. I lifted the document and tore it, once, twice, until it snowed confetti into the wastebasket. Adrian froze, eyes flicking from the shredded paper to my face, processor overheating. She shredded it? What does that mean? I cupped his cheeks, rising on tiptoe so he had nowhere to look but me. Ellis, that agreement is void. Let's negotiate a new one. I brushed his ear with my lips, voice barely breath. How about lifetime terms? Consider this kiss the first installment. I sealed my mouth over his, cold with fear, warm with relief a heartbeat later. Everything I owned, heart, future, every tomorrow, poured down that kiss. He trembled, arms locking around me as he kissed back like oxygen depended on it. Above his head, after a storm of static, one gold-bannered sentence blazed in bold, on loop. She's mine, forever. Forever sounded about right. I smiled against his tear-flushed eyes and deepened the kiss. Rowan, Casey, nice to meet you, for the rest of our lives. Epilogue. A pale morning months later, I lay curled in Ellis's arms, sunstripes sliding through the curtains. Half awake, I glanced up to skim his daily mental fluff. Babe asleep equals kitten video. Those lashes, illegal. Skin like milk, want a bite. Heh, she's still mine. I hid a silent laugh. Same brand of adorable garbage every day. Then a male voice, clear, amused, bloomed inside my skull, as if he'd slipped earbuds in without touching me. Not a bubble. His actual voice. Enjoying the free rent in my head, babe? My grin snapped rigid. I jackknifed awake and met Ellis's smug, sparkling stare. He knows? My superpowers blown? While my brain blue screened, a brand new gold ribbon unfurled above my own head. Busted? What's my excuse? Cosplay foreplay? Ellis read it, smile widening, and pressed a kiss to my forehead, voice velvet low. Caught you, little spy. Now. He grazed my ear, breath hot. My turn. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate our story? If you loved it, like and share with friends. We can't wait to read your comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more. See you next time.